Let's watch the video. Let's watch the video and then we're gonna go into a deeper dive on everything. So video first. Let's go, fellas. Okay, starting off with the same part.
Out with the old, in with the new. Welcome one and all to season 2024. We've got quite a few changes to share, from terrain adjustments to new monsters and items. Ready to see what's coming? Let's get into it.
Oh, Rift is so open, man. It feels more Dota-y with the traversal.
Oh, it's top lane. These walls are different. And
it's a banana wall.
The brush is now in the middle of the river. That'll make for a trickier gank path from jungle, so you top laners can focus more on your lane opponent instead of hungry junglers.
Honestly, okay, I hate to pause all the time, but honestly, this is something that, like, top lane is a very, very unique lane in the fact that it's the most snowballing in kill matchups. Like, one bad gank can ruin you. And the fact that they made it, like, this wide open, like, you're essentially laning in the river, almost, and the jungle ganks are much clearer now. It's much more difficult to gank, which means if you have good game knowledge of where enemies are, you should be able to position very well. So, I think this is, like, a better way, but we'll see.
You can focus more on your lane opponent instead of hungry junglers. We've got terrain changes across the entire map, actually. Like in mid lane, the brush is farther back from the lane now, and we've adjusted
super
the
far
walls to
away.
both red and blue side for better symmetry.
Whoa.
Overall, these adjustments should make it a little safer.
This thing here, like, this thing here feels so awkward, man. Like, this is mid lane tier 1. It feels so goddamn awkward. Like, these walls. It's like, imagine laning on blue side, and you're under your turret, and you're like, what? There's just pure darkness, big-ass wall right next to you. It's almost like a tier 2 on red side on top lane, which is basically turret can hit you in the jungle over the wall, like in the top lane. But it's like tier 2, you're there, like, very, like, only in mid to late game, right? Here is just like, you're just laning here, and you're primed up for camp.
Especially those mages with 0 dashes. Speaking of safety, change the walls opposite Baron and Dragon Pit for a bit more security while you're moving between lanes through the jungle. Finally, in bot lane, there's a new gank path on red side to make the map more symmetrical. We've also shifted the brush to the middle of the river, so both teams can more
sheesh, dude.
Look alive down there.
It's gonna be so cold out, Azzapp. Yeah, he said that to me specifically, guys.
New jungle paths aren't the only thing to keep your eye on this season.
Shambler!
A new void monster has found its way to the rift. During the early game, a camp...
Okay, I'm interested. What happens with the dragons? Please tell me that.
Void grubs will now spawn inside the Baron Pit. When you
3
attack
void
grubs,
grubs.
smaller void mites appear to join the fight. Killing one of the void grubs grants a permanent buff to your entire team that deals damage over time when attacking turrets. For every grub you slay, the buff becomes more powerful.
Oh, wow.
After the first 3 grubs are killed, 3 more will spawn a few minutes later. If your team manages to kill all 6, then you unlock the maximum buff. When you attack a turret, you'll apply the damage over time and spawn some void mites of your own to help take it down.
Whoa.
Keep in mind that these grubs are an incremental camp, not all or nothing. So slaying even one can give your team
yeah, kill one and then there's
an enemy from collecting all 6.
Yeah? So 6 will be very difficult to get unless in, like, pure stomps. Again, this makes, like, that side incredible. Holy shit. You're gonna have so much control in the map and pushing power and snowball, which means this has to be very well balanced out. Because if it allows you to destroy turrets easily and Hullbreaker doesn't get removed, it's gonna be...
At 14 minutes, any remaining grubs disappear, and the beloved Rift Herald enters the game with a fresh new look. Maybe they're born with it, maybe it's the hideously vile influence of the void from whence they came. If you slay the Herald, you can summon them as before to march down lane and whack turrets.
I love the new Herald.
Any member of your team can hop.
Whoa, what the fuck is that? He's got a jet! He's got a jet in the back. I love the void. It looks more voidy. It looks more cosmic horror-y. Same with the grubs. And this is something that Vel'Koz needs as a visual overhaul, you know? He needs to be less cartoony and more like a cosmic horror.
Hop on board to play Summoner's Drift.
Super cool.
The monster as they charge forward like a battle sled. Ramming Herald into a turret this way deals some extra damage, and you can run into enemies like a batter of your team can hop on. You can summon them.
What the hell?
And whack turrets. Or
you can ride a Herald.
Hop on board to play Summoner's Drift, steering the monster as they charge forward.
Holy shit, that's so cool.
Herald into a turret this way deals some extra damage, and you can run into enemy champions to damage and knock them up. On terrain or a turret, the driver pops out nearby, and the ability to steer goes on cooldown. This cooldown resets if you hit a turret, but takes longer if you hit a wall.
So if one of our teammates does this and fucks it up, he's gonna mess up on the huge damage on the turret. He just hits the wall, you know, like failed Scion ult, and then just all wasted.
Demolition train. Now let's talk about... What was that?
I love the new spiky Baron. It looks way uglier. I love it.
Baron Nashor, Voidborn Tyrant of the Rift, is back and badder than ever before.
Okay.
When he enters the game, you'll know.
Nice.
Baron takes one of 3 forms when he emerges. Each form provides the same classic buff, but alters how he fights and determines the shape of his pit. But wait,
This elemental dragon season is over, right? Like, we're no longer doing the elemental dragon thing at all. Like, we're done with the whole dragon thing. Now we're getting like Baron variations.
there's more. With Baron's entrance, the Void's influence spreads across the map, infusing the Scuttle Crab, Brambleback, and Sentinel with dark power.
Damn.
Voidborn Scuttle Crab becomes tankier and tougher to kill. On death, she sends out a massive burst like a Scryer's Bloom, revealing all enemy champions and wards in a large area.
Okay.
Bet you didn't see that coming. Likewise, the Voidborn red and blue buff require a little more muscle to take down, but in exchange, they grant the buff to every teammate who's alive at the time. So no more.
Whoa, global.
Buff, right?
Global buffs. How is that gonna work? So you get like 5 blue buffs essentially. You get like 5 blue buffs. If they die, they give a blue buff again. It's just gonna like you'll perma a blue buff essentially. Like
so no more fighting over who gets blue buff.
after
right?
this happens.
Speaking of cool new buffs, let's talk Infernal Rift. All versions of the Elemental Rift have been refreshed to accommodate the new base terrain, with Mountain Rift losing a few walls that didn't quite fit anymore. But we've changed up Infernal Rift completely. We don't have gameplay footage quite ready at this time, so let me paint you a word picture. Instead of a burned out fire escape, Infernal Rift will scatter infernal cinders all across the map. Picking up these cinders gives a
So they're still doing dragons.
the stat buff. On death, half your collected cinders explode out for others to snag for themselves. I mean, you weren't using them anymore, right?
Dude, this is so much. This is so much to absorb. They're doing quite a lot with this. The game's gonna be insanely dynamic. I just hope that the game doesn't speed up, because getting new creative stuff in there is very cool. You know, you add more things, you change, you shake up the season. Season needed changing. We needed something. And we finally lowered the levels of snowballing to levels of Season 8 in the recent changes, like in the patch 1321 or 1320. So that was amazing. And now I'm afraid that they might speed it up a little bit too much with the grubs. Shelly, I'm not sure if it's buffed. You won't be able to use Shelly for plates because it's post 14. That's a good thing. That is a very good thing. You can only get the Herald later on, which means that the value of Herald is not that insane. The dragons are still going to be dragons, and still you want to get 4, but there's also grubs. I hope that the map changes don't create like too chaotic of an environment, you know, like getting all the buffs, all the blue buffs, all the fighting, you know.
As in years past,
I trust
we made
in the
some minor
direction.
adjustments for this new season. Like, a lot of adjustments. For one, mythic items are out. Gone.
Finally.
Poof. In their place,
3
adding,
years.
removing, and updating a bunch of items across several champion classes. Mages, assassins, tanks, enchanters, fighters, and marksmen will all notice quite a few changes when they gear up this season. For example, the new Storm Surge for those AP assassins and burst mages who really want to shock the enemy. In addition, we've
That's the
overhauled
lightning
the
one.
support quest items. Supports now have a singular item they pick up at the start of the game with minimal stats. You earn gold with this item by executing minions of any type for a flat amount, or hitting enemy champions with abilities or attacks.
Okay.
At the middle tier, you unlock refilling wards as before. And when you reach the final tier, you can choose between several upgraded items to suit your playstyle. Whether you prefer protecting your carry or more aggressive support tactics,
Huh.
you've got
Is this gonna make mage supports weaker? Because they're gonna be sharing the item at the start, and only they're gonna go they're gonna be unique a bit later on, which is gonna transition them to mid to late game. But I think early game mage supports might lose a little bit of value with that. We'll see.
got you covered. While you're running around the new map with new monsters and new items, you should keep an eye out for old grudges. We've added a handful of champion quests that will trigger when certain champs are in the same game. Defeating your quest rival on the enemy team will grant a tiny buff. While it won't significantly impact the game, it'll be a nice reward for your Renekton mains to finally stick it to Nasus. Many of the changes we've made this year
Okay,
are
I
overhauled the
wanna hear
support
this
link
again.
works. We've got you covered. While you're running around the new map with new monsters and new items, you should keep an eye out for old grudges. We've added a handful of champion quests that will trigger when certain champs are
These
in the
were
same
awesome.
game.
Like when I first saw like the Rengar versus Kha'Zix hunt is on at like level 16, it was just a shocking thing to see in a game. I mean, Zillion Vel'Koz might have one, or Vel'Koz Bel'Veth could have one. Azir Zereth, you know, it can be very, very interesting. Like here we have they teased Shen versus Zed. That's gonna be cool. Like there's cool ideas. Maybe Yasuo, Yone.
Many of the changes we've made this year are
The Zhonya's,
gameplay
man.
mechanics.
3.1k, by the way. 3.1k for just the status effect 60/60. This is very weird. Okay, tooltip wrong has extra 120 AP. Oh, okay, so like I just got 5 billion messages. People are saying that it also has 120 AP. This is a mistake. I like it being more expensive, but also makes it really tanky. It's interesting. This brings up a very interesting dynamic here. Squishies are not incentivized to buy Zhonya's because they get way less value from armor and MR. They only buy it for the stasis effect. So it's gonna be this dynamic of how proportionally do they need the stasis effect versus how much money are they willing to sink into a shit item. Whereas somebody like a Kali benefits from these because she's gonna go tanky 3-4k HP anyway, and she's gonna benefit for both armor and MR, and stasis is bread and butter. So those champs will get it a lot of the games. But on squishies, it's not very incentivized. So it's gonna be very costly to purchase, and it's gonna make a lot of decisions between the items. Interesting approach. We'll see. Crown was removed.
Easier to understand. This goal includes a lot of adjustments mentioned previously, or smaller changes like simplified tooltip language. We also just want to make it feel better to be on the Rift. Listen closely and you might notice the music changing throughout the game based on where you are or what you're doing. Baron boss music, anyone? And now you can celebrate or commiserate with your teammates in a language everyone understands, the fist bump. Okay, that was a lot to cover. In summary, new terrain means new gank paths in every lane. Void grubs are now a thing. You can now drive the Rift Herald into battle. Baron looks scarier and the Void is everywhere. Infernal Rift is totally changing. There's a bunch of new items. Some champs are bringing their beef onto the Rift and explode into sparkles and fireworks.
I'm hyped.
Got all that?
All good change. I got it. I got it.
Details. We unpack everything in the article linked.
Yep, I got it. I got it open already.
In January, when season 2024.
I love it. Yeah, I'm excited. I made a tweet already. This is I've most been excited about League in years. I can't really remember when I was this excited about this game. Think about it. The game slowed down. We're getting new season. We're getting new fucking changes. Mythics are getting removed after 3 years of terrorizing the Rift. We got Hui, the new champion, a mage invoker style. It's super creative. I love it. I'm so excited. I'll be spamming that. And yeah, I will be the best Hui on the planet, by the way. Let's see this and start raiding slowly and figuring it out. We got brand new residents moving into the Baron Pit this season, the Void Grubs. So basically the big carriers, and they drop a bunch of these head crab-esque toad poles. They seem to be doing nothing, 2, 5, 7 damage. It's kind of shit. What I'm hoping, because I'm seeing 257, I'm hoping that these Void Mites, they do piss damage, but the more they hit, the more damage they deal. So they become very deadly very quickly, unless you dispose of them. So that might be interesting, but we'll see. And maximum 6 can spawn the entire game. So if you clear them at 5, you're gonna get them at 9, all of them, and that's it. You don't get anything until 14. Whereas if you kill one at 5, other one at 9, the last one at 10, they're gonna all be spawning. And if you kill the last one in the initial 3 at 10, basically you won't have a chance to get this, because at 14 they're gonna despawn. So as long as the first isn't cleared by 10, it's impossible to get the 6 stacks. So if you want to play a bit of a late game scaling comp, you don't want enemies to accelerate the game, you're probably going to be wanting to defend that, or steal one at least. Vinagre, each Void Grub will unleash a swarm of Void Mites to attack the enemies. Should you manage to take down some Void Grubs, your entire team will earn the Hunger of the Void buff, which will give the user damage over time to structures. The buff based on the amount of Void Grubs you manage to take down. This feels like such a TFT thing, Oh, you have 4, but you have 5, you can spawn a 1. If you have 6, you can spawn 2, It's different augments that you're getting, I'm hoping, okay, here's something for solo queue. I'm really hoping Herald doesn't lose too much value if you don't drive him. I feel like it would be better to have the baseline Herald value, and then driving, if you do it exquisitely well, you can get rewarded for it. But driving should not be the norm, because in solo queue that will be misplayed 50% of the times, probably even more. So it can become very frustrating. Much like the mechanic of popping the eyeball for 4.5 seconds, and your jungler is dog shit. He does that in front of enemy turret. Syndra comes in, stuns him, he loses the Herald, right? So that's why they lowered the cast time and made it uninterruptible. So it's a really awkward design for solo queue. I hope that's how they do it, and I think they've learned the lesson, so they should do it that way. So there are the 3 Barons. So the regular Spiky, the Horn, and the Eye. Okay, so you have the Prophet Baron, you have the Horn Baron, and you have the Plain Baron. In line with the visual update, we also made Herald Baron himself. He will also be getting fresh coat of pixel paint. I love it. I love the Baron design. He looked pretty bland and like a regular character. Here it feels more menacing, spiky, ugly, kind of how it should be. This type of pit is very Dota-esque, with the Roshan. It's very interesting. So you have this type of pit. So this is the Prophet. the eyeball one, it's wide open. Okay, you have the horn one, which is kind of closed, and you have the spiky one with the middle thing. In order to make each Baron encounter more unique, we also add different attacks for each Baron. Yes, precisely. All-Seeing Baron opens a void rift that creates a damage over time zone within a new tunnel pit. So basically that one is like you want to spread out against that one. That's why you have this wide open area, because it's gonna do like crazy rifts, or you're gonna be attacking like from this side, from this side. It's gonna create some very interesting dynamics for team fights there. Territorial Baron pulls champions near him with his handy new hands. Finally, the Hunting Baron blasts all nearby enemies with lightning from above. So I'm guessing this is the lightning one, and that's the territorial. Holy, Barons are so cool, man. I felt like Baron was bland for years. I love the new update that they did, because before he looked like just like one boring worm, you know. There's like a very fun image. After that, they made him a lot better, but now he finally has identity, actually. So I'm really happy about that. He should be powerful. Like when you come to Baron, you shouldn't have like fucking Master E go AFK and do it. You shouldn't have Warwick just auto attack him to death. You want to do something cool, you know, some cool lightning effects, a little bit more interactive, a bit more like moving, sidestepping. When you try to interrupt the Baron enemy team, the only thing enemy team is basically trying to dodge is you. And depending on which characters you're playing and like what range you have, that's all enemies have to think about when they're doing Baron. They just do it AFK. But now, Barons are gonna also do interesting things, which is going to make them adapt their strategy. It's going to lead to some like higher skill ceiling in terms of doing the correct Baron, in terms of both macro and micro. So I think that's going to be very cool. So instead of trying to retake sexual differences, change allow me to demonstrate instead. So yeah, this is the top lane with the pixel brush, this banana here, which is very thick. Very thick, both of these now. This area looks very dark and deadly, treacherous. Invading top side seems very rough. This here is wide open. I feel like the entire map is now like more cluttered, that there's like more stuff going on, and again, the basic rotations will not be as basic anymore. Like, you can get caught in mid lane. If you're a mid laner on red side rotating this way, you can get caught. Like, look, you're a mid laner here, you're under a turret, here you're dead. How crazy is that? Like, here you're in utter safety of your turret, in range. Here you die from a Rengar in a brush. You get caught off like from this edge, you insta die. So these rotations are very interesting. It's easier for you as a mid laner to rotate. Like, let's say you're Xerath and you want to ult bottom side. From here, boom, you walk here and then you ult. But then again, if you don't have sufficient vision and control, it's more and more difficult. Mid lane dives are going to be interesting. That's kind of wide open now. There's no this like ultimate safety on the red side, on the right side and like left side here respectively. Very cool. Given the terrain change, we introduced the set. We also need to adjust some drakes. Yeah, like mountain and infernal. This includes moving a few small walls and brushes for mountain and ocean drake. However, after we spent so much time building walls across the rift, we took a step back to look at infernal map. Changes again. Now, once the Rift Herald is locked in, Infernal Cinders will spawn around the map. Infernal Rift. Okay, so if you get Infernal Rift, Infernal Cinders will spawn. Each Cinder will give the champion that picked it up adaptive stats beneficial to your champion, a burst of movement speed. So like an aggressive Bard Meep on the map randomly. Upon death, champions will drop half of their Cinders, which can then be picked up by any enemy and allied champions. This is so weird, man. This is so weird. It's like temporary power, but you can't fuck it up. We wanted to experiment with these changes after considering player feedback about Infernal Rift being the least interesting in terms of gameplay. Our goal is that it will help us create more interesting maps. So now the Infernal is going to be the most snowbally, I'm guessing. It's going to be very deadly when you see it. I like that there's a dragon that increases the stress and the risk of game. Yeah, like if you're playing a scaling comp and this Infernal dragon happens, enemies are going to try to play more aggressive. You kind of have to adapt your playstyle. It's going to be interesting. Okay, dynamic music is cool. That's a cool idea. Now, I'm hoping they're doing this to pad in the idea of individual sound packs that are purchasable by RP, which is also an idea I laid out in a video in 2018 that they should do, and I think that's a cool way to approach the game. So you can have different voice pack announcers and you can have different music, and the music can scale depending on how badass the things happening are. Like if you have 4 kills, 5 kills, the music should kind of ramp up. And here are the item changes. Item changes are just crazy. I've seen these on a glance and it's incredible. So the first thing you have to know is mythics are getting removed. Mythic removal is exactly what we needed. We talked about that for 3 years, that we need to remove that. Mage items are boring, completely undefined. There's no trade-off or creative builds. Everything you buy gives you HP, mana, CDR, AP, all roughly in small numbers. Mythic also pads those stats. There's no glass cannon build, there's no execute, there's no artillery class, there's no poke. Everything is just a failed ass bruiser. So you're just wave clearing and you're a failed bruiser. So that's kind of what I wrote. Look how beautiful this is. And people reading this on the first is going to be like, oh shit, this is too broken. This is too broken. That magic damage, true damage, critting on low targets, 120 AP, crazy damage. But think about this. You get no haste, you get no HP, you get no mana, meaning your wave clear is shit. You're only itemized, you're designed to execute enemies and kill enemies. If you take this and you slightly fall behind in the game, this is horrible. The 12 magic pen is irrelevant, really, if you fall behind and enemies start getting a little bit of MR. So this is only snowballing, killing enemies. If you fall behind, this is horrible. And it takes you too long to buy it because it's 3.2k. So that's what the item trade-off is. That's what good trade-off is. You're not going to be getting bullshit stats out of nowhere. As part of 2024 gameplay changes, all sport items and quests have been combined into a single starter to help demystify sport itemization decisions. While that might sound like we're oversimplifying things, we're also adding 5 upgrades for this item. Now, once your support quests have been completed, you will be able to select one of the 5 upgrades. Our goal was to support every champ in the role, so now you can pick whichever one feels bait. Okay, you buy this for 40 gold. Is this like a mistype? Is it supposed to be 400? Are they just fucking around here? 30 health, 25% region. Yeah, it's 400. Support quest, earn 500 gold from this item, transform to runic. Okay. Gain a charge every 18 seconds up to 3. While nearby an allied champion, consume a charge to earn gold by following methods. Damaging abilities and attacks against champions or structures grant 30 melee, 28 gold. Killing a minion by any means grants you 20 gold and the nearest allied champion the same amount of gold they would have received had they killed the minion. So you can do this and this. So it's basically 2 in 1. So this is the upgrade, the base one. Once you get 500 gold, you get better stats, better regen, more gold per second. And then you want to get 1k. It also gives you more gold because usually people in mid game kind of get lost on the map and they don't really get as many stacks. So you get more stacks in laning phase generally of this. I think they upped this to kind of get you to speed. So your early seems to be pretty shit. It's gonna be weak. You basically get no AP in as a mage poke, right? If you want to do that. The early game is gonna be way more supportive. But you have potential to scale. You may notice Bounty of Worlds is almost exactly the same item as Runic Compass. Well, you notice right. Bounty Worlds is an in-between state. Yeah, so once you upgrade this, you're only allowed to upgrade again, right? So basically it gives you the same shit, but then you can upgrade. All upgrade items will share the same stats with differentiator being upgrades mentioned below. Okay, so everything is going to be just this again, like 200, 75, 75. So all of them give you this. And then you have 5 variations, which we're gonna go over now. Passive Blessing of the Mountain. Become blessed to reduce incoming champion damage by 40% melee, 25% range, lingering for 2 seconds after taking damage from a champion. So like a mini crown. When the reduction wears off, unleashes shockwave around you that slows nearby enemies. Like a Leona W kinda-ish. Slowing by 50% effect, refresh after leaving combat for 15 seconds. Interesting, I like that. I like that. Very simple. Cool. Slowing or immobilizing enemy champion grants you a nearby ally with the lowest amount of health, 120 bonus health, and 90 movement speed for 4 seconds. So you can theoretically play AP poke healer mage with this. Like Vel'Koz, you can heal people. I get 90 move speed. Interesting. 90 seems a bit crazy for you in the ADC. I think they're gonna have to lower this number. We'll see. Spellblade. After using an ability, your next attack is enhanced with an additional 75 physical damage on hit. If the target is a champion, apply Expose Weakness, increasing damage they take by 12% melee, 8% range for 6 seconds. Interesting. So this is basically like an assassin variant. Like if you're playing Pike, like you want to have that. That's like the Leona, Nautilus stuff. This would be like the healer variant of slowing or immobilizing. Like let's say that this could be like something like Nami, or probably not Nami. She can't really... Oh, she can immobilize, but not in a poke way. Like, Vel'Koz Q is pretty good for this, to proc it. You want abilities that can proc it easily. Dream Maker. Gain a blue dream bubble and a purple dream bubble every 8 seconds. Healing and shielding another ally blows both dream bubbles to them and empowers them for 3 seconds. What the hell? Blue bubble reduces 140 incoming damage on the next hit, and purple bubble grants 90 bonus damage on the next hit. So, like, 1 shield, 1 buff, and you kind of get both. This is more like a just pure utility on a character. And you got Azzapp, Realm Spike, Void Explosion. Something tells me that's going to be a good one. Dealing ability damage to a champion causes an explosion at the current location that damages the target and nearby enemies, dealing 50 plus 30% max health. Wait, why the fuck max health? Magic damage capped at 300 against monsters, 3-second cooldown. Holy moly. So it's more like anti-tank thing. because it's a void. Because the void is basically like to deconstruct enemies, punish them, you know, consume them. So regardless how much HP they have, you should be able to like damage them. Yeah, let's just put this into context. If you're like in laning, which this will not be in laning, because you have to upgrade this like very later on. This is gonna happen around 15 to 20 minutes. You're gonna get this item, right? At that point, enemies are gonna have 1500 to 3000 HP, depending on who they are. So from the minimum of the 1500, you're gonna do 95 damage, right? You're gonna do 95 damage to 140 to the 3k HPs. So you're gonna do pops of 100 to 150 damage essentially on enemies. So if you're playing Vel'Koz and you drop a Q, he does extra 150 damage in poke. 3-second cooldown, that's kind of crazy. It's not a unique per champion cooldown. It's not like Night Harvester, but it's 3 seconds. It's fairly short. So you have that kind of poke. So this one seems the best one for mages, I think. This is the interesting part. The mage items. Removed Crown of the Shatter Queen, bye-bye. Everfrost, bye-bye. Legion Leader, bye-bye. Demonic Embrace, bye-bye. Night Harvester. I miss Night Harvester. I wish I would do a similar version of it, just without like HP or like more interesting, but whatever. Ludens Tempest, I think it gets changed. Stopwatch, bye-bye. Malignance, I love this one, okay? Malignance is gonna be awesome. 3000 gold, Lost Chapter, Codex 900, fairly easy purchase. Look at this, 400, 350, 400, 460, or 500 depending now, because I think the other one gets lowered. Pretty cheap item components. 3000 regular item, 80 AP, 20 ability haste, 600 mana. Ultimate power, gain 15 ability haste for your ultimate. Ultimate flames, whenever you damage an enemy champion with your ultimate, burn the ground beneath them for 3 seconds, dealing 60 plus 6% AP magic damage per second, and reducing their MR by 6 to 12 level scaling for as long as they're in the burning ground. Holy hell. Yeah, like basically if you do Malzahar, you're just gonna shred them. Okay, that's gonna do extra 200 damage, gonna reduce their MR by like 30. It's gonna get 35 haste from your thing. It's gonna work on something like Vel'Koz very well. I don't know if this is gonna be like, how is this gonna work for stuff like Xerath ult when you're spreading your thing, like pa, pa, pa. Is it gonna keep spawning these like everywhere and just create like a very infested ground? That's going to be very interesting. With Vel'Koz, it's naturally good because Vel'Koz ult slows, which is going to make them stay longer on this. In total, it can do 200 damage. You're never going to do 200. I think it's going to be fairly small AoE underneath them. I think they're going to run out of it fairly quickly. Otherwise, it's going to be crazy. Yeah, very cool stuff. It's going to be extremely interesting. Some champs are going to fit better. Some champs are going to fit terribly, like Rise, because it cannot do damage with ult. But yeah, that's something like this is the item that I read that led me to believe that Riot took inspiration from 2v2v2v2 arena, and they've decided to be a bit more like Devil May Care and a little bit more creative in terms of items. I feel like they just would have never designed something like this before, but yeah, it's gonna be very cool. Caster Companion, 3000 Lost Chapter Alternator, baby, 700 gold, so 90 AP. These are very important, these APs, because for the reference, like we can look at the older ones. Pretty much same, plus 10 AP. Gain a shot charge every 3 seconds, up to maximum of 6. So for 18 seconds, you're loading up. Damaging abilities consume all shot charges to deal additional 40 plus 8% AP magic damage to the target and 1 additional target per charge. If there are insufficient targets in range, for each remaining shot, repeat the damage on the primary target, dealing 35% damage. Like, look at this. So you gain every 3 seconds. So while you're going to lane, you're always going to get them. While you're roaming, you're always going to get them. Basically like 18 seconds. And then you stack these. One does like 40 plus, I don't know, if you're 100 AP, it's gonna be like 50. So it's basically like Ludens that sprouts out per charge. But if you hit a target that's unique in the jungle, it's gonna do 40 and then 5 times the 35%. So it's gonna do 5 times that. So it's going to be 175%. So if you hit a solo target with max stacks, you're not going to do 100% damage. You're going to do 275% damage. So you're nearly tripling this. So you're essentially doing 110 here, plus like 20% of your AP. So imagine if you have like 500 AP, that's another 100 damage and another 100 here. So about 200 on a unique target. So that's very interesting. But this is damaging abilities consume shot. So this is basically like it gets blocked by minions, much like Ludens, but it's a bit more stackable now, which is, I would agree, I would say that's a better design for Ludens. I love this item design. It empowers mages a bit more in rotation in the jungle. So yeah, you can get a 200 extra damage like late game with just proccing the passive on a single target. Notice something? We still haven't seen any health on these items. Storm Surge, 2.9k, even cheaper. AP, 10 magic pen, 5% movement speed. This is just a kill item, essentially. Storm Raider, dealing 35% of champions max health within 3 seconds, applies Storm Surge to them and grants the user 25% movement speed. Basically like a built-in phase rush, but based on the enemy damage. Designed to deal with the squishies. So something like Syndra, picking this item, gets movement speed, drops a WQE on somebody, gets extra movement speed again. So you get Storm Raider Surge. After 2 seconds, Storm Surge strikes the target with lightning, dealing 100 to 200 plus 50% magic to them. If they die to the lightning or before the lightning strikes, he detonates immediately in a large area around him and you gain 30 gold. Do you guys notice this? Do you guys notice the pattern? Now, if you go to Twitter and type in like from lol Azzapp and you look at like a type like item or something like that, item changes, you're gonna find tweets of me saying like how there's like a lot of lack of diversity in items, and something that's like an executioner, something that's like a collector, something that snowballs is necessary. This is a very snowbally item with basically giving you nothing else. The magic pen, again, not that great if enemies can buy against you. It's good to punish squishies, puts control into your hands. If you're good and you pick this up in mid game and you snowball with it, you're great. If this goes to late game, the item's probably not going to be worth jack shit. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be cool. I think these numbers are a bit crazy though. So like if you have like 500 AP, you do 400 damage, essentially. Like, how crazy is that? Okay, Haunting Guys is back. It's only 1300. Amplifying Tome, Ruby Crystal, 500 gold. 35 AP, 200 health. For each second in combat with enemy champs, deal 2% damage. Max 6, not 10. So maybe the upgraded version will be more. Essentially, like, this is gonna be more a tank leaning thing. You want to be longer in fight. You want to be burning, like Swain, bread and butter, stuff like that. Crypt Bloom, Blighting Jewel, Fiendish Codex, 850. 30% magic pen. So this is like a secondary version of Void Staff, because Void Staff is not written to being removed. So it's gonna be a secondary version of Void Staff that leans more into utility, because you get haste, but you get less pen by 10%. Life from Death. Whenever you get a takedown on an enemy champion within 3 seconds of damaging, create a healing nova on their location that heals allies for 50 plus 50% AP. Wow, that's interesting. But it does have a massive cooldown. So if it is passive, you can kill an enemy, you get a healing nova. So this is like crazy for team fight. More utility-esque champs, like you want Orianna, you know, you pick up Orianna. It's very easy for Orianna to get takedowns because you're always shielding your teammates. You pop a nuke, you still get your pen, you get more haste, you drop a combo, you heal your teammates as a control mage in a fight. Same for Lissandra, same for stuff like that. Very interesting. Rift Maker, Haunting Guys, yeah, that's gonna be the Rift Maker. Haunting Guys, Codex, 800 gold, 70 AP, 15 haste, HP. See, this is the first time we've seen HP on a mage item. First time we scrolled so fucking long and we got to an actual tank, like mage bruiser item, and it finally has HP. This is exactly how it should be. Void Corruption, for each second in combat enemy to deal 2% bonus damage, max 10%. Yeah, the max goes up, but the Omnivamp is nerfed for ranged. Okay, again, stuff like Swain. You pop this on Swain, you go in, you do extra damage the longer you're in, and you're healing. Void Infusion gain 2% of your bonus health as AP. So again, stuff like Vladimir, like Swain's gonna be rocking this. Omnivamp updated with the following. It now only exists on a Rift Maker. Omnivamp heals you for a percentage of damage you deal. Be reduced for minions and monsters. Heals you for the full amount with pet or AoE. Interesting. And we got Liandry's Torment. Haunting Guys, Blasting Wound, 850. 90 AP, 300 health. Dealing damage with abilities cause enemies to burn for 2% for 3 seconds. So no AP scaling. Notice that. And 2%. Flat. That's a big amount. That's better than current. It gives you very good stats and a crazy good anti-tank regardless of your AP. Passive suffering for each second in combat with damage gain 2% up to 6. Anti-tank bruisery fight item, right? This will no longer be something that's very good for Vel'Koz. It can be all right in certain games, especially if you want to deal with a bunch of tanks. Let's say they have 3 hardcore tanks. Like, yeah, like your job is to kill frontline, go for it. So it's gonna be interesting. Horizon Focus. This is the one that caught my eye, and let's go into it. Look at this. 2700. Cheap. My reasoning, I'm thinking the parallel is instantly Umbral Glaive. Anti-Umbral Glaive. How cool is this? 90 AP. Okay, so you're getting very good stats. Ability haste, again, Again, no HP, they traded into HP. Hyper Shot. When you deal damage with an ability to champion 700 range or greater, reveal them for 6 seconds. So like before, deal extra damage to them for 10%. But look at this. They traded HP for this. When revealing an enemy with Hyper Shot, reveal all other enemy champions within 1200 range of them. 30-second cooldown. So let's say you're dancing around a baron or dragon fight. They're over the pit. You shoot a cube blind across the screen. You hit somebody. You get vision of them. Bah! You just get their entire positioning. It's a tactical utility item. You know how when I was saying about Horizon Focus, there are 2 Horizon Focus variants that Riot should do. One is an execution one is the utility one. And they shifted the execution idea to a different item and they didn't tie it to the long range, but there is now Mage Execution nonetheless, and you get like extra gold for it, like a collector. And they transition Horizon Focus into a utility tactical vision item, anti-Umbral Glaive. So it's incredible for support stuff. It's incredible for utility mid laners who want to control the team fight if you want to dig deep. Incredible stuff. I love it. 30-second cooldown seems great, so this is not broken, so you don't get vision all the time. Like within 30 seconds, a team fight can be initiated and basically broken. But the team has 30 seconds, or with this knowledge of 2-second snapshot of the enemy comp, they have time to organize their forces and to deal with the upcoming threat. I love it. Absolutely love it. Woo! Seeker's Arm Guard. Item recipe, amplified tome, cloth armor, 500 gold. 40 AP, 35 armor. So, stat-wise, it's dog shit, but it gives you stasis. Use one time only to become invulnerable, untargetable. The user is prevented from taking any other actions during the time. Into Broken Arm Guard. Now, they didn't list the Broken Arm Guard. What is the Broken Arm Guard, and does it go into Zhonya's? I'm guessing it does, right? Otherwise, it would just be kind of crazy. But stat-wise, the item sucks, but the fact that you have one stasis usage, you definitely want it like in crucial team fights. Now, what do you do after with it? I'm not sure. Does it lock you into building Zhonya's, or can you not build it at all? That's like an interesting choice. But I'm guessing it goes into Zhonya's. Shadow Flame. Here's the one we looked at. Oh my god. Larger alternator, 850. 12 pen, 120 damage. Fucking A. Crazy, man. Magic damage and true damage critically strikes enemies below 35% health, dealing 20% increased damage, reduced to 30% increase for damage over time and pet effects. I'm guessing reduced to 30% increased damage over time. Like, I don't understand what this means, because here they have 20 and then reduced to 30 for damage over time. I'm not sure what does this mean. I don't think it's 30% of 20%, because that's just nothing. I think they just reverse these. I think here's 30%, here's 20%. I think that's what they wanted. I'm not sure. It's kind of hard. We kind of have to guess. Either way, this is not like a massive increase, but good enough to give you the execution. Execution item. Kill enemies item. Make choices. Make decisions when building items. Don't build whatever the fuck bullshit you build and you still get everything. So you get this item. Wow, so good. Okay, you go in a team fight. Your team is losing. Enemies never go low. You never get to proc this item, dog shit. And you just thought you were broken and clever, and now you can't control the waves, you have no mana, you run out of mana, you have no CDR, once you miss your combo, you suck, and if your team is weak and they can't get enemies low, you are fucking useless. I love it, okay? It's a tactical item. There's so many cases where this item will not be that relevant, but there's so many cases where it's gonna snowball the game and break it. I love it. That's what items should be. Cosmic Drive. I don't think they're gonna touch it that much, because it looks like it fits the current idea of what the game they're going. AP, health, ability haste, 25 haste. Move speed, damaging enemy champ grants move speed for 2 seconds. That's it. Very, very simple movement speed stuff, like you're very used to. Amp Tome. Cost is now 400. Can you believe we actually did it? Wait, what? Wait, is blasting one now 850 though? Wait, like they will ruin the economy. Like the entire economy will shatter. You can't peddle 20 AP for 400 gold and then charge 850 for 40 AP. The value is like, you're supposed to get better value at the more expensive packs. It's like gacha gaming 101. They need to lower the blasting one to 799 to make it a good bait. Okay, we got Rod of Ages. 50 AP, 300 health, 300 mana. That's it. Simple as that. It's a cheap rod. It gives you the scaling, and the key value of this item, the item is dog shit. It's not that great. The good thing is that it's cheap. It promotes you a little bit of scaling, but it gives you a level. Upon reaching max stacks, gain level. This level thing is what provides the big value of the item. You have 10 minutes to scale upon purchasing it, and that's when it goes good. There's a lot of items here, which I don't really care about. There's a brutalizer. It's back. Brutalizer is back. 1337. I'm happy about that. There's like glowing mode. There's a lot of like interesting ones. But nothing like too crazy, too game breaking. Nothing I really care about that much. Mage items are the big deal. If people complain about those mage items for all the new AP pen damage, it looks broken, looks like it's gonna do crazy damage. This item has 80 MR. If you cry about all the mage items giving you damage and stuff, there's an item that gives you 80 MR, okay? If you ever lean into an assassin AP build and forgo control of the game and waves and AP or getting mana and haste, you're fucked if they build this. They block for 18% of max health, they got 80 MR, and you're fucked. It's a good MR item. So it goes both ways. So itemization will be key. And it's gonna be great to see how it evolves. I'm so excited.